Should you be investing in solar?
I love strollers. Best investment for my dog ever.
Wait, what? I said solar. It's a good question, but if you're like me, you can't help but wonder if your money would be better off invested into something else. I'm a real estate investor and I own 9 buy and hold real estate investment properties. So before I put my money into something, I want to know that it makes sense from a cash on cash perspective. So I thought we could take a look at solar today from the perspective of an investment to try and determine if the numbers make sense. And guess what? At the end of last year, I put 36 solar panels up on my roof. So I thought this would be a perfect time to dig into the numbers and maybe help you decide along the way if you should consider solar as an investment. Stick around to the end because I'm going to explain why this could be your last chance to decide. So now I only have one question. Was it worth it? We're going to find out right now. Hey everyone, I'm Jay. Welcome to Jim's. Here we talk about real estate investing. If you like that sort of thing, please subscribe. You know, we're gonna have to start this conversation with a mutual agreement. We gotta all agree that if you wanna get solar panels, the best way to do it is just to buy them outright. It's outside the scope of this video to prove this fact, but it's been shown to be true over and over again. Even Consumer Reports, in no uncertain terms, says buying your solar electric system outright is best. You see, there's many ways to pay for your solar system. The most common ways are, you can get a loan for it, or you could lease it, or you can just outright buy it with cash. Now I get it, not everyone has the cash to put solar on the roof. I mean, it does cost a lot of money. But for the purposes of this video, we're assuming that you're stuck with the dilemma of having cash that you could use to buy more real estate or purchase solar. And we're gonna kick around the idea of which one makes more sense. However, if you're not quite there, but you're still thinking about solar, do yourself a favor and whatever you do, just don't lease it. That's hands down the worst way to buy solar. When you lease solar, the financial return is smaller if it's there at all. Plus, the solar company will in almost every case have a lien against your house. I don't know about you, but I don't want some random solar company having a lien against my house. By the way, speaking of what's best to do, it's always best to smash that like button. There are many factors that affect your return on investment when it comes to solar, including where you live, how many hours of sun you get each day, what kind of solar panels you get, even which direction your house is facing. Ideally in North America, you want to have your house facing south. West is a second best option if your local power company has a time of use policy, effectively making the evening sun more valuable. So to just come up with a one-size-fits-all answer of is solar a good investment would be really difficult to do. But at any rate, I think we can look at my particular situation and get a general idea of how to analyze solar, and then you can adjust the numbers as needed for your own situation. I think solar is pretty clearly a great idea for a number of reasons, but remember the idea here is to look at it from the perspective of a real estate investor. We're going to suppose that you had the money to put a down payment on another real estate investment property, and we're going to compare that against solar. We want to find out if solar is a good use of your money in terms of building wealth. Before we dig into the numbers, let's take a look at my initial situation. I want to show you what led me to consider solar in the first place. The first thing to think about is where I live. Some of you might know that here in the Bay Area of Northern California, there's only one utility choice when shopping for electricity or gas to your home, and that's PG&E. And where do we even start with PG&E? PG&E has been found responsible for starting wildfires across Northern California due to negligent maintenance on their delivery system. They've already filed and been approved for bankruptcy. Yeah, they're a hot mess. We could probably make a whole video about PG&E, but it's really not the point of this video, so we're just gonna skip past that. However, all of these issues come at a cost to the consumer, which is one of the reasons why PG&E's utility prices have been rising. With that said, I think it's important to note that in general, Californians pay 1.5 times more than the national average for their utilities. But here in Northern California, under PG&E, Californians pay as much as 2 times more than the national average for their utilities. And here's why. There's several types of utility companies: municipal utilities and investor-owned utilities. All utilities pay for the cost of generating electricity and the cost of delivering the electricity. But investor-owned utilities pay for something else. They have to pay profits to shareholders. And PG&E is an investor-owned utility. And this adds to the overall cost for the customer. So with all of that, you can already see why I would be paying quite a bit. But there's something else that happened that specifically had me paying even more. PG&E has this thing called a high usage surcharge. Essentially what that is a penalty for people who are using a lot of electricity relative to other homes in their area. And that makes sense, right? I think the idea here is you don't really want people using multiple times more power than they need to. So if you could put something out there to discourage that, then that's a good thing, right? However, the problem is the way it's being measured is not really fair. What PG&E will do is they'll look at your city and they'll compare how much power you're using compared to everyone else in your city. But they don't look at the average square footage of your home versus other homes in your area. In fact, they don't even break it down by subdivision. It's just the average power usage in your city. In my particular case, I have a 3,200 square foot home, but the average home size in my city is something like 1,200 square feet. So of course I'm gonna use more power. How could I not? If I turn the AC on for like 5 minutes, boom, already in the high tier. And then my specific home is even more of a problem. I have a vaulted ceiling, which looks great and allows for a big Christmas tree, but it's terrible when it comes to heating and cooling a home. I've got this giant 5-ton AC out in the back, but it's what's required for a home of this size to stay cool. I found a bill here from 2017 where you can see I was charged $876, and that's just one example that I found. There were times where I was charged even over $1,000 a month. But averaging it all up, my monthly average throughout the year was about $550 per month. So we're gonna start out with this as my baseline. That's what I'm trying to get rid of with solar, is a $550 on average monthly fee. So the first question I had to ask myself is, how much of my power needs do I want to replace with solar? And my answer was, all of it. Make that bill go away, don't want it. And from there you need to figure out what size solar system do you want. Solar systems are measured in kilowatts, or kWp, which stands for kilowatt peak. And there's a lot of complex analysis that goes into this. You gotta think about which way your roof is facing, how much sun you're gonna get in your particular part of the world, and in certain months you get more hours of daylight than in others, etc., etc. So the way you wanna think about it is on an annual basis. And you have to also understand something called net metering. How it works is, if your solar panels are generating electricity that you're not using, then the extra power is being pushed back into the grid, in effect making your power meter run backwards. This in effect works like a credit system. The power company becomes sort of a battery, if you will. Now I don't want to confuse you. Your extra power is not really being stored on the grid. It's being used, but you're being credited for it. And then when you need power that your solar panels are not generating, say in the middle of the night, you can pull from that reserve. Anyway, I don't want to get too far down in the weeds here. The point is there are websites and calculators that can help you figure out exactly what size solar system you're going to need. A good website is one called Energy Sage. I'll put the link down in the description below. It's not an affiliate link or anything like that. It's just a great website to help you figure out what size solar system you're going to need. But at any rate, we figured out that in order to break even, I would need a 9 kilowatt system. But I decided to get a little bit of a bigger system for 3 reasons. 1, my power needs might grow over time. What if I add an electric water heater, for example? 2, solar panels tend to be less efficient over time, meaning they'll make the most power on day 1, but in year 5, they're not going to make as much power as they did on day 1. And the third reason why I wanted a little extra is because of that net metering thing we talked about earlier. I kind of wanted to have just enough extra power that maybe my gas bill would also go away. So I landed on needing an 11.88 kilowatt system. And we decided to get there with 36 330 watt each solar panels. Just a quick note about solar panels. Some solar panels produce more power like 350 watts, and some produce a lot less like 280 watts. You'll pay less for the 280 watt solar panel, but it will take more panels to get the amount of power that you need. So you'll have to think about your roof size and your budget when planning which solar panels to get. I think if you're doing this analysis for yourself, you should plan on paying about $2.50 per watt at a minimum. But you'll definitely get some good savings if you go with a local installer instead of one of the big name brands. They all use the same equipment anyway, which is already guaranteed by the manufacturer. And the total cost for my system with installation, inverters, all of it, was $27,277. This breaks down to about $2.30 per watt. That's pretty low, and it was pretty hard to find. I had to do a lot of research. But that amount is not the full story, because last year there was a 30% federal tax credit for new residential solar installations, and I got back $8,183. This means all in, I only paid $19,094. And this is a credit we're talking about here. This is not a refund, which basically means no matter how much taxes you paid in or whatever, you're still gonna get this money. Remember at the beginning of this video, I mentioned something about this possibly being your last chance to get solar? If you haven't yet gotten solar, you've already missed your opportunity to get the 30% tax credit. However, if you hurry up and get solar right now here in the year 2020, you're still eligible to get a 26% tax credit, which is still pretty good. If you wait till next year, you'll only be able to get a 22% tax credit. And then if you wait until the year after that, in 2022, you won't get any tax credit at all, except for commercial installations, which will still be eligible for a 10% tax credit. but we're talking about residential here. So if you want the 26% tax credit, you're running out of time. I guess the only thing to do now is see how this thing's performing. Try to look at the numbers and see if it's paying off. The first thing I wanted to show you is the Solar Edge website. I've got an inverter on the outside of my house and it just keeps track of how much power I'm producing day by day. And then they give you some visuals to look at that kind of roll up how much power you're producing. So you can see how much power we've produced so far this year. October is just getting started, that's why there's not a lot of power in October yet. There are more hours of daylight during the summer, so that's why you can see more production during the months of June and July. September was a little bit of a hard month for us. We had a ton of fires here in Northern California, and it covered the solar panels with ash. Not to mention there was so much smoke in the sky that you couldn't see the sun at all for several weeks. Just for fun, we can go in here to the month view, and you can kind of see the day by day each month. You can see here in June, we got all the way up to 87 kilowatts in one day. That's just amazing, love it. Anyway, now I wanted to go over to the PG&E website. This is where they keep track of how much power you're using. We're just gonna start out here in January. They give you the trend with the temperature day by day, and then how much net energy you've used. If one of these bars face upwards and they're blue, that means you used power from the grid. If it's down in green, that means you delivered power to the grid, i.e. negative usage. And now we're just gonna move forward through the months. You can see a couple of days here, probably cloudy or rainy days, just barely slipped into the blue, and it's mostly green, and then we start getting into some pretty rough times here. Like I said, this is with the fires and the smoke, and also it was 105 degrees outside. But here's what I really want to get at. They give you this solar summary. So look at this. This is your cumulative usage throughout the year, and you can see it's below zero, and it's getting more and more negative. All the way down here to negative $501 worth of power. And then we started using power and it's starting to go back up, but we're still way below the line here, which means we're ahead of the game. And if you look at this line over here, this is true up. With solar, you don't pay your power every single month like a normal power bill. You look at the cumulative usage year by year, and then there's a true up period and you pay any difference. But based on the way things are looking here, especially since after October it's gonna start to cool off and we're gonna be back here producing extra power, I'd say things are looking good. You currently have a negative cumulative net energy metering charge. If this remains negative, there'll be no balance due. It's highly probable that I'm gonna have zero balance due at the end of the year. Boom, there you have it. Now we have everything we need to do the analysis and see if this is a good deal. We're gonna use a cash on cash return metric to do the analysis. And if you don't know what cash on cash return is, it's just a metric used to see how profitable a deal is. And for reference, in real estate, a cash on cash return of 8 to 12% is considered pretty good. Or maybe you just find the best below market value deal and you score 20% cash on cash return. That would be incredible. Now that you have your compass in place, let's analyze this deal quickly, shall we? The formula for cash on cash return is pretty simple. It's just your annual cash flow divided by your initial investment and then multiply all of that by 100. The only thing that might be a little wonky about our analysis in this case is I'm not completely sure that avoiding paying a power bill is the same as cash flow. I'll let you be the judge of that, but let me tell you, I'm not complaining. So if you remember, the amount we're avoiding each month is $550. So having solar is allowing me to save $6,600 per year. And my initial investment was $19,094. And that gives me a 34.6% cash on cash return for this deal. Wow! This is the best money I've ever spent. Nothing beats that. I will have completely made back my entire initial investment in about 3 years. And in the meanwhile, I'm getting a 34.6% return on my money. Yes, I definitely think solar is a good deal. You can run the numbers for yourself to see how it pans out in your case, but even if it's half as good as my deal, it would still be an incredible use of your money. I hope you found this video valuable, and if you did, please hit the like button. Also, please consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me. Thank you for watching, and until next time, you guys are awesome!